Help the old woman, she is your only way out.
We'll figure this out. All right, everyone stand back.
The afternoon sun sat heavy over Peachtree Street, bouncing off glass towers and hot pavement. Cars crawled through traffic. Horns blared somewhere in the distance. And in the middle of all that noise, a 13-year-old boy named Sam Dean was running like his life depended on it. Because in a way, it did. Stop him. Stop that man. Sam screamed, his sneakers slapping against the concrete, his chest burning with every breath. Ahead of him, a man in a grey hoodie was sprinting through the crowd, clutching a black leather portfolio bag under his arm, like a football. That bag wasn't just a bag. Inside it was a folder of documents worth $700 million. A deal that had taken almost 2 years to put together. A deal that belonged to Anselm Ford. The 68-year-old billionaire Sam had been running an errand for just minutes ago. Sam had only been asked to carry the bag 2 blocks, from the law office to the black car waiting outside the Ford Tower. 2 blocks. That was it. He didn't even know what was inside. All he knew was that Mr. Ford's assistant had looked him dead in the eye and said, "Don't let this bag out of your hands, you hear me?" And now it was gone. Snatched right off his shoulder by a stranger who came out of nowhere, shoved him to the ground, and took off running. Sam scrambled up, ignoring the sting in his knees, and chased after him anyway. He didn't think about the $700 million. He didn't think about billionaires or business deals. He thought about one thing only. I can't lose that bag. I can't be the reason everything falls apart. The thief was fast, cutting through an alley, dodging trash cans and startled pigeons. Sam followed, his lungs screaming, his mind racing. Then, just as the man burst out of the alley and onto the next street, he ran straight past an old woman, sitting on a folding chair outside a corner store. She saw everything. Sam saw her see it. The old woman's eyes went wide as the man barreled past her, nearly knocking over her chair. She stood up fast for someone her age, gasping, one hand pressed to her chest. Ma'am, did you see him? Which way did he go?" Sam shouted, skidding to a stop in front of her. "That way, baby. Down toward the train tracks. He turned left by the barber shop," she said, pointing with a shaking hand. Sam didn't waste a second. He took off in that direction, but when he reached the corner, the man was gone, vanished into the maze of side streets and alleys that made up that part of Atlanta. Sam turned in every direction, panting, sweating, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. He had lost him. He had lost the bag, and with it, $700 million. 10 minutes later, Sam stood on the sidewalk outside the Ford Tower, shaking, trying to find the words to explain what happened. Anselm Ford stood in front of him, arms crossed, his silver hair perfectly combed, his grey suit not showing a single wrinkle despite the Georgia heat. He looked more like a man carved out of stone than a person who had just lost hundreds of millions of dollars. "Say that again," Anselm said quietly. "Sir, someone snatched the bag. I chased him. I swear I chased him as fast as I could, but he was too fast, and then he just disappeared. Do you understand what was in that bag?" Anselm's voice was calm, but there was something sharp underneath it, like a blade wrapped in silk. "No, sir. But I know it's important. I know I messed up, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "That deal closes at 6 o'clock tonight," Anselm said, checking his gold watch. "Without those documents, without my signature and the seal that's inside that folder, the deal collapses. Do you understand what that means? Years of work, gone, because a 13-year-old boy couldn't hold onto a bag for 2 blocks. Sam's eyes filled with tears, but he blinked them back hard. He wasn't going to cry. Not here. Not now. "Sir, there's a woman," Sam said suddenly. "An old woman. She saw him. She saw which way he ran. If we can find her, maybe she remembers something. His face, what he was wearing, anything." Anselm's jaw tightened. "And where is this woman now?" "She was sitting outside a corner store, 3 blocks from here. I don't know if she's still there." For a long moment, Anselm said nothing. He looked at Sam like he was trying to decide whether the boy was telling the truth or just grasping at anything to save himself. Then he sighed, pulled out his phone, and said one word to his driver standing nearby. Drive. They found Angela Smith exactly where Sam had left her, except now she wasn't alone. 2 Atlanta police officers stood in front of her, and the scene was already spinning out of control. A small crowd had gathered on the sidewalk, phones raised, recording. Angela Smith, 77 years old, her grey hair pulled back into a small bun, stood with her hands raised slightly, confusion and fear written all over her face. "Ma'am, I need you to step back from the store," one of the officers said, his hand resting near his belt. "I didn't do nothing. I was just sitting here. I told you, some man ran past me. The store owner says someone matching your description was seen near a disturbance," the other officer said. "We just need you to cooperate." "I am cooperating. I've been sitting in this chair for the last hour. Ask anybody." The first officer stepped closer, his tone hardening. "Ma'am, put your hands where I can see them. They are where you can see them." Angela's voice cracked, panic rising. "I'm 77 years old. I haven't done anything wrong, please." The car pulled up right as the officer reached for her arm. Sam didn't even wait for the driver to stop completely. He threw the door open and jumped out, running toward the growing scene. "Wait! Stop!" "That's not her. That's not the man. She didn't do anything," Sam shouted, pushing through the small crowd. "Son, step back," the officer warned, one hand still on Angela's arm. "No, listen to me, please." Sam's voice cracked with desperation. "She's a witness. She saw the man who robbed me." "She didn't do anything wrong. I swear on my life. Please just let her go." But the officers weren't listening. One of them was already reaching for handcuffs, his patience thinning, his voice growing sharper. Angela's eyes were wide with fear now, her hands trembling. "Please," she whispered. "Please, I didn't do anything." Sam turned, desperate, searching for anyone who could help. And that's when he saw Anselm Ford stepping out of the car, straightening his jacket, watching the whole scene with an unreadable expression. Sam ran to him, grabbed his sleeve, something he never would have dared to do an hour ago, and looked up at him with tears finally breaking free. "Save her, sir," Sam cried out, his voice raw and shaking. "She is your only chance. Please, she's the only one who saw the man who took your bag. If they arrest her, if they take her away, we lose her. We lose everything. Please, sir, save her." Time seemed to freeze for a moment. The crowd's phones were still raised, capturing everything. The officers hesitated, glancing toward the boy and the well-dressed white man who had just stepped out of an expensive black car. Angela stood frozen, tears sliding down her wrinkled cheeks, waiting to see what would happen next. And Anselm Ford, the man who had built an empire out of cold calculation and hard decisions, looked at the boy crying in front of him, looked at the old woman shaking under the grip of 2 officers, and for the first time that day, something in his stone face cracked. "Officers," Anselm said, his voice suddenly loud and commanding, carrying the kind of authority that made people stop and listen. "What exactly is this woman being accused of?" The first officer straightened up. "Sir, we received a call about a disturbance near this store. This woman matches the description given." "A disturbance," Anselm repeated flatly. "What disturbance?" "A man ran through here a few minutes ago, knocked over some merchandise outside the store. The owner said a man ran through here," Anselm interrupted. "Not a 77-year-old woman sitting in a chair." The officer hesitated. "The description was vague, sir. We're just following up." "This woman," Anselm said, stepping closer, his eyes locking onto the officers, "is the only witness to a robbery that happened not 10 minutes ago. A robbery involving my property. Property worth more money than this entire block put together. If you arrest her, you are not just making a mistake, you are destroying evidence. I need to catch the man who actually committed a crime here today." The crowd murmured. More phones came up. Angela stood still, barely breathing, watching this stranger, this billionaire she had never met, speak on her behalf like her life depended on it. Because at that moment, it did. "Sir, we still need to verify." "Verify what?" Anselm's voice sharpened. "That an old woman sitting in a chair outside a corner store is somehow responsible for a robbery she witnessed. Not committed. Take your hands off her. Now. The second officer looked at his partner, unsure. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, slowly, reluctantly, the officer holding Angela's arm let go. Angela stumbled back slightly, her hand flying to her chest, tears streaming freely now. Sam ran to her side, steadying her, his own tears mixing with relief. "You're okay," Sam whispered. "You're okay, ma'am. It's okay now. Thank you, baby," Angela whispered back, her voice trembling. "Thank you." The officers stepped back, exchanging a look, clearly unhappy, but unwilling to push further, with a billionaire and a growing crowd of witnesses watching their every move. One of them cleared his throat. We'll need a statement from her about the robbery," he said stiffly. "You'll get one," Anselm said, "but you'll get it the right way, with respect, not with handcuffs." They moved away from the store, away from the crowd, into the shade of a small park bench nearby. Angela sat down slowly, still shaking, while Sam knelt in front of her, holding her hand like she was his own grandmother. "Are you hurt?" Sam asked. "Did they hurt you?" "No, baby. I'm all right. Just scared. Real scared." Angela took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I've seen things like that before. My whole life I've seen things like that. Sometimes it don't end so good." Anselm stood a few feet away, watching the two of them, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable again, but softer now, like something inside him was still processing what had just happened. "Ma'am," he said finally, "I need to ask you something important, and I know you've had a frightening few minutes. But time is not on our side." Angela nodded, wiping her eyes. "Ask me. The man who ran past you, can you describe him? Anything at all? His face, his clothes, anything you remember?" Angela closed her eyes for a moment, thinking hard. "He was tall, taller than the boy here, shorter than you. Grey hoodie, ripped at the sleeve. Right sleeve, I remember, 'cause it caught on my chair when he ran by. He had a tattoo on his neck. Right here," she said, touching the side of her own neck. "Looked like a snake, maybe. And he was wearing red shoes, bright red, like new sneakers." Sam's eyes lit up. "The barber shop! You said he turned left by the barber shop. That's only 2 blocks from here, right by the train station." Anselm was already pulling out his phone. "Give me the exact cross streets." Angela described the route as best she could, and Anselm relayed it immediately to his driver, and after a brief hesitation, to the same officers who had almost arrested her minutes ago. It was a strange moment, the billionaire now working with the police instead of against them, using their resources to hunt down the real threat. "There are security cameras all along that train station," Anselm muttered, half to himself. "If he's still in that area, we have to hurry," Sam said, standing up. "The deal closes at 6, right? What time is it now?" Anselm checked his watch. 4:40. We have less than 2 hours. What happened next moved fast, faster than Sam had ever experienced anything in his life. Anselm's driver pulled the car around, and within minutes, they were speeding toward the train station area. Angela insisting on coming along despite her age, saying she wasn't about to sit around not knowing how this story ends. Sam sat beside her in the back seat, still holding her hand, while Anselm sat up front, on the phone with his security team, describing the man in the grey hoodie with the ripped sleeve and the snake tattoo. "There," Angela said suddenly, pointing out the window as they slowed near the train station. "That's him. That's the shoes. Red shoes, right there by the fence." Sure enough, a man in a grey hoodie was crouched near a chain-link fence, rifling through the portfolio bag, clearly trying to figure out if there was anything inside worth keeping or selling. He hadn't expected anyone to catch up to him this fast. The car screeched to a stop. Before anyone could say anything, Sam threw the door open. "Sam, wait!" Anselm started, but the boy was already out, running toward the man. "Hey! That's not yours!" Sam shouted. The man's head snapped up, startled, and for a split second, he considered running again. But then he saw the black car, the well-dressed older man stepping out, and in the distance, a police cruiser turning onto the street, lights flashing. Panic flickered across his face. "Kid, back off!" the man growled, standing up, still holding the bag. "Give it back! That's not yours!" Sam said, standing his ground, even though his legs were shaking. Anselm walked up calmly, his voice steady. "Son, that bag contains legal documents. Nothing you can sell, nothing that will make you a dime, but it will get you a very long prison sentence if you don't hand it over right now." The man hesitated, glancing between the boy, the billionaire, and the approaching police car. His shoulders slumped. Whatever plan he had, whatever desperate reason had made him snatch a bag off a kid's shoulder in broad daylight, it clearly wasn't worth this. He dropped the bag on the ground and put his hands up just as the police officers arrived. Different officers this time. Ones who hadn't been at the corner store. Ones who simply saw a man matching a robbery description and did their job the way it was supposed to be done. Sam grabbed the bag immediately, clutching it to his chest, like it was the most precious thing in the world. "I got it," he said, breathless, tears of relief streaming down his face. "Mr. Ford, I got it back." Anselm knelt down slightly, something a man like him rarely did for anyone, and looked Sam directly in the eyes. "You did good, son," he said quietly. "You did real good." Back at the Ford Tower, with less than 40 minutes to spare before the 6 o'clock deadline, Anselm's team rushed the documents upstairs, and the $700 million deal was signed and sealed just in time. Lawyers shook hands. Phones rang with celebratory calls. The tension that had filled the building all afternoon finally began to fade. But Anselm wasn't in his office celebrating. He was outside, on the sidewalk, standing with Sam and Angela as the evening sun began to dip lower in the sky, painting the Atlanta skyline in shades of orange and gold. "Ma'am," Anselm said, turning to Angela, "I owe you an apology, not just for what happened at that store, but for what almost happened because of it. If Sam hadn't stopped that situation when he did, if you had been taken away, we would have lost the only person who could identify that man. You saved this deal. You saved a lot of jobs that depend on it. And more than that, you didn't deserve what those officers put you through." Angela shook her head slowly. "I've lived 77 years in this world, baby. I've seen good days and bad ones. But I'll tell you this, I never had a young man stand up for me like this one did." She reached out and gently touched Sam's cheek. "You've got a good heart, boy. Don't you ever lose that." Sam smiled, still a little shy, still not quite believing everything that had happened in just a few hours. "I was just scared," Sam admitted. "Scared of losing the bag. Scared of you getting hurt. Scared of everything, honestly. Being scared and doing the right thing anyway," Anselm said, placing a hand on Sam's shoulder. "That's not weakness, son. That's courage. That's the only kind of courage that actually matters." For the first time since Sam had met him, Anselm Ford smiled. A real smile, not the polished, careful expression he usually wore in front of cameras and business partners. "I think," Anselm continued, "you've earned more than just an apology, and more than just a thank you. How would you like a real job here? Not running errands. A proper position, once you're old enough, and in the meantime, I'll make sure your family is taken care of. College included." Sam's mouth fell open. "Sir, you don't have to do that. I lost the bag in the first place." "You lost it," Anselm said, "and you got it back. Most grown men I know would have given up the second that man ran off. You didn't. That means something to me." Angela wiped a tear from her eye, smiling as she watched the two of them, the boy and the billionaire, standing together, something unspoken now connecting them for good. "And you, Miss Smith," Anselm added, turning back to her. "You didn't have to help a stranger today. You could have just watched that boy run past and gone on with your afternoon. But you didn't. So whatever you need, groceries, bills, anything at all, you call this number." He handed her a card with his direct line, "Anytime." Angela took the card carefully, holding it like it was something fragile. "You know," she said, "all I did was point in a direction. Sometimes," Anselm said, "that's all it takes to change everything." As the sun set fully over Atlanta, painting the streets in warm golden light, Sam Dean walked home with a lightness in his chest he hadn't felt in a long time. He thought about the chase, the fear, the moment he had grabbed a billionaire's sleeve and begged him to save an old woman's life. He thought about how close everything had come to falling apart. The deal, Angela's safety, everything. But it hadn't fallen apart. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person brave enough to speak up, one person willing to listen, and one old woman sitting in a chair, watching the world go by, who just happened to see something that mattered. Sam Dean was just 13 years old. He didn't have money, or power, or influence. But that day, on the streets of Atlanta, he had something far more important. He had the courage to ask for help, and the heart to fight for someone who needed it. And sometimes, that's exactly what saves the day.